Yeah, man, we're back. We're out here again. We're back outside. We're back on the show, man. It's been a minute, man, but yeah, we are back. A little 10-minute delay, but we're here. We're here. Yes, Chinksey Sports presents the Arsenal podcast. We are back again, and we are ready for the next episode of the show. Today, I'm here to talk about Arsenal squad with the new signings. The first starting 11 as things stand. And also, I want to go through my all time Arsenal X1 and, well, all time Arsenal X1 that's post 2000. So, of players that I've seen, basically, I've seen play. Not talking about no players from the 80s and that, you know what I'm saying? To be honest, I don't think I would have put any players from the 80s in my all time X1. But without any further ado, I want to start by going through the squad that we have currently, the Arsenal squad, and see how strong it is. Can we win the league this season? That's the big question. Can we win the league? The first title in 20 years. Most fans haven't even seen us win one. All right. So, in goal, we've got Aaron Ramsdale and we have Matt Turner. So, not too bad. Matt Turner's, he's a decent backup keeper. He's doing the job, doing a good job for us. I don't mind him being our number 2 for next season. He can probably feature in the cup games and whatnot. Then right back, you've got Drury and Timber, and I'm gonna put Tomiyasu as the backup right back. So Timber's a right back stroke centre back, which means that Ben White can now go in as Saliba's replacement, which means that we don't have to rely on Rob Holding. Hell of a lot stronger than what we was the last 2 seasons, where we've had to rely on Rob Holding in vital games towards the end of the season. So, yeah, man. Timber, definitely for me, comes into the side. He strengthens the starting 11 for sure. Whereas Tomiyasu, he has been injury prone since he's joined us from Bologna. He got injured for a lengthy period of time in his first season and his second season, last season, in the Sporting Lisbon game, which really cost us because he's quite versatile. He can cover any position in the back four, but I'd say he's primarily a right back. So yeah, we're looking good at right back. And then obviously I've mentioned Saliba with Ben White as his able deputy for me. And then obviously we have Gabriel Magalhaes and Jakub Kiwior. Kiwior is obviously a young player brought in from Italy as well. And he's looked good, He's made a few mistakes, but hopefully he's learned from them. And next season he can gain some experience and also be an able deputy. Another good thing about him, I feel like we've been trialing him in as a kind of left centre back stroke left back against Nottingham Forest and against Wolves. He was playing there, so there's more options. It shows that he can be kind of tweaked in depending what tactical formation we're going for, whether he's playing in a back 3 or a back 4. He can play in more than one position, which is important for Arteta's system, and obviously it's a trait that he looks for in each of his players that he brings in, that they can play in several positions, or at least 2 anyway. At left back, we have Alexander Zinchenko and we have Kieran Tierney. 2 different types of fullbacks. To be honest, I'm personally a bit surprised that Tierney's still here. Pleasantly, I would add. Because I thought he would have got frustrated at his lack of football. However, so having them there would be interesting. I don't know how long Tierney would accept being a backup player, but as things stand, he's at the club, and yeah, we're looking strong at left back as well. So in the full back positions, we're looking pretty well stocked right now. Into the midfield, I'm gonna put Declan Rice in, although that deal hasn't been 100% confirmed. I'm sure it will be in the next couple of days, if not tomorrow. I've heard that he's cut his holiday short to finalize the deal, which would be very timely because we're playing Nuremberg next week. So I'm not sure if he would feature in that game. Maybe it'll be interesting to see. But Declan Rice in there with Partey now coming out of the team for me, but as a more than able deputy. However, I'm hearing that Partey is looking to leave the club for whatever reason. Um, I'm not mad with that. I mean, I feel like Declan Rice is a player that's probably in and around Partey's ability. However, I feel like Rice can go. There's levels for him to reach. Like he's nowhere near his prime, which is a good thing. At his age as well is a good age for him to improve and get better. So having Rice to replace Partey is a good thing, especially with the age profile. Next up, we have the captain, Martin Odegaard, the player of the season. Exceptional footballer. Literally, with the exception of Kevin De Bruyne, he's the best midfielder in the league. That's a fact. And yeah, I feel like he's going to get better as well. So yeah, there's nothing really much more to add about Odegaard. He's one of our best players. And then I feel like his deputy, you could say Smith Rowe. I would say Smith Rowe is his deputy. I mean, to be honest, I thought Smith Rowe would leave, but it looks like he's lost a bit of weight and he's back to his best. Like he's performing well in the under 21s tournament, scored a few goals, and it looks like he's getting kind of his run of games to get his match fitness up, which is really good. And it bodes well for the coming season. So hopefully Emil Smith Rowe can continue his, I don't know, redemption if you like. But I don't think he's quite first team yet. But if he can pick up some form, I'm sure he can squeeze his way into the first team. But I feel like it'll be in a central position as opposed to the left wing where he was playing the season before last. Ahead of them, well, not ahead of them, but on the other side in a 4-3-3, it's looking like Kai Havertz is going to play where Granit Xhaka played, which is left centre mid. Um, to be honest, though, I'm not really sure of how Rice, Odegaard, and Havertz works against the top sides because I feel like it's too attacking. I feel like in certain games, or if you're chasing the game, or if you really want to go gung ho, then I feel like yeah, that's a good midfield to have. But I'm not sure about the balance. I'm not really sure about the balance in them three, especially Havertz. I can't see him pressing or being able to cover defensively in the same way that Granit Xhaka did and has done. Because obviously I'm assuming that Xhaka is going to leave, which is why I didn't put him in there. Otherwise, I would have probably went with Xhaka ahead of Havertz for the time being. And as his deputy, I would put Jorginho there behind Havertz. But then again, just as I've said that Rice, Odegaard, and Havertz is quite attacking, having Rice, Odegaard, and Jorginho ain't it either. So the balance with that isn't right either. So I don't know. You could be talk we could be talking about a Rice, Odegaard, and Smith Rowe. You know what I mean. That one looks alright as well. So yeah, I mean the midfield, the composition of the midfield is interesting to see, and will be interesting to see how we go forward, going into next season. So on the right wing, obviously none other than Bukayo Saka. as a right winger. Although I feel like that's one position that we may look to strengthen in. I feel like we need another attacking player in there, and it's probably going to be, and if we do get one, it's probably going to be someone in that position. However, some people are speculating that Kai Havertz would or could play there. I'm not really sure about that. As Arteta said, it looks like he's being brought in as a midfielder, so which you're assuming is a central player. So yeah, it looks like Saka's Saka needs to have some kind of competition in that position. Could be Reece Nelson. I'll put Reece Nelson, provided he signs that new contract as his deputy for now. But I feel like it's a position we might look to strengthen in going forward. On the left wing, Gabriel Martinelli definitely starts. I think yesterday was the 4th anniversary of us signing him for 6 million from Ituano, and he's just gone on from leaps and bounds, and he just got better and better. And I feel like next season he will get better and better and continue to grow as a player. And add to the 15 goals he got in the league this season. If he can match that, that would be another exceptional season for him. And he's probably an underrated player in a weird way, because I feel like people like Saka and Odegaard get all the praise, and Martinelli is like kind of third in that little axis of attacking players that we have. As his understudy, Trussard, Leandro Trussard. Who the hell is that, bruv? Anyway, yeah, Leandro Trussard as his deputy on the left wing. However, he can probably deputize for Jesus as well as the false number 9. And Jesus is definitely our starting striker in this squad. Another position we might need to strengthen in or look to strengthen in is a forward, but I doubt we will bring one in. So I would say his deputy currently remains Eddie Nketiah. And on that subject, I want to just go through the players that you could argue are third choice in the squad. Stroke players that might need to be sold or look to leave, whether on loan or permanently. I'd say Nketiah is probably one of them, alongside Rob Holding, who I feel like we should be moving on from now. He's currently probably fifth or sixth choice defender as a centre half. Now that we brought in Timber, now that Tomiyasu's back, I'm sure he would find it really tough to get into the starting 11 next season. So it might be time for him to leave the club. Albert Sambi-Lokonga, similarly to Rob Holding, he might need to seek pastures new. Obviously, I'm hearing Burnley with Vincent Company are in for him. He went on loan to Crystal Palace last season, didn't really pull up any trees. He started a few games, but once Roy Hodgson came in, he brought in Eberici Eze, and he found it really tough to get into the starting 11. So if he's finding it tough to get in Crystal Palace's 11, I mean, this is a Arsenal team that are now back in the Champions League. He's probably going to find it impossible to get in this team unless there's like mad amount of injuries. So yeah, I feel like the time has come to sell Lokonga as well. Nuno Tavares, similar to the first two, to the aforementioned two. He went on loan last season, did all right, started really well, scored a few goals, but I'm not really sure he's up to it at this level. He has got a lot of raw, and we can't have that, especially where we're in a situation where there's no margin for error with Man City. in this league. Like you don't want to be giving away easy goals and giving away goals and making mistakes. And Tavares is a player with a lot of mistakes in him. I'm not. I think he's a half decent player, but I think he's too much of a impulsive player. We need reliability. He's a bit erratic, and we need to minimize our mistakes. So I think it's time for Tavares to be sold or to be moved on permanently for me as well. Nicolas Pepe is an interesting one because he's coming back from his loan at Nice last season. Didn't really do amazingly, didn't really do bad. He just did. Just did. I don't know. Just was okay really, you know what I'm saying? So Nice are like a mid-table French side, and if you're not really excelling over there, then I think it's probably the time has come to move on. Obviously, I don't see where he gets into the team now with people like Saka making that position his own. So I've also read an interview he did the other day where he's kind of almost criticizing Arteta and the club, and just like saying, oh, he was told that he would start, and then they brought in Willian and da da da. Just look, I feel like the time has come to just for all parties to just move on for everyone's sake. Really, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Nico Pepe is a half decent player. I'm sure at the right club he will succeed, but I'm not really sure the Premier League is a league for the type of player he is. He's almost a bit like a luxury player, and I don't think luxury players are really a thing in modern day football like that. Not in the Premier League anyway. So I can see him doing well at like a Milan or something like that, or a Lazio if he just goes to one of them kind of sides. I can see him doing half decent over there, but I would sell Pepe as well. I've put El Neni in here because obviously this category players that I feel that will be used sparingly. Um, to be honest with you, I'll be surprised if El Neni gets 5 games this season, and that's because we've already strengthened the midfield. We're looking at other options like Lavia and Chouameni from Real Madrid. So obviously, the managers identified that midfield is a position we need to be strengthening. So obviously, the idea with El Neni was to give him a 1 year extension, so his career didn't end in an injury. So he's obviously got another year left at the club, and I'm sure he will just be there for the vibes, you know, in the dressing room and that, getting the lads up for it, all of that stuff, like for vibes and that, and just respect to the club and whatnot. So, but I doubt he would feature much. So I wouldn't really say sell him, but I would say that he will be in and around the club, um, and maybe helping the youngsters out and stuff like that, or the coaching staff and whatnot. Next we have I'm gonna go with Cedric. If I'm not wrong, Cedric's contract is expiring in the summer anyway. But if it isn't, it's clear that I think he has to be moved on as well. But I'm almost certain that his contract is expiring anyway, so I'm sure he will be leaving the club anyway. If not, then it might be a thing where either you just sell him for a low fee, or literally you just rip up the contract kind of thing. You get what I'm saying? Um, Austin Tus- uh, Austin Trusty, the American fullback, is an interesting one, but I feel like it's another one where he either is sold or he's loaned out again, because we're strong in the fullback positions, and if any fullback's gonna come in, they got to be better than what we already have, and I'm pretty certain he's not at this current state. So a loan might be an interesting option, especially as we've got some good young fullbacks like Raw Waters and people like that are in and around the club. So yeah, maybe a loan for him is best. Fabio Vieira, That's well, okay. I'll put it this way. I don't think he should remain at the club next season. Whether that means he finds a loan to like another Premier League club, maybe like I don't know, like maybe a Brentford or a kind of lower mid-table kind of side, so he can get some Premier League experience and just regular first team football. Because it's gonna be tough for him, especially with Smith Rowe and Havertz coming in. I don't see where he fits in into this side, especially because he lacks the physical strength to start for me in midfield, and then he lacks the movement and the speed and the dynamism to play on the wing. So he probably needs a loan or to be sold for me because he ain't gonna feature next season, that's for sure. So for his own good, I think he should seek a move, whether it's on loan or permanent. Next up is Marquinhos, similar to Vieira. Marquinhos is very raw. However, he's got age on his side. I think he's about 20. So if he was to be loaned out again, but this time to a Premier League side, I think that's probably the best move for him. And lastly is Folarin Balogun. He's an interesting one. I've left him till last because I think of the people on the list, I think he has a good how can I put this? He's got the most potential. He had a great season last season, managed to prove himself in the French league. However, the Premier League is different to the French league, so it'll be more interesting to see how he copes with that. He doesn't appear to be a guy that lacks confidence. So for me, he's talking big. He's talking. I don't know. It's like he's talking big in interviews and that. Like, oh, yo, I'm not going on loan, kind of thing. Like, who are you, bruv? Listen. For me, if the club gets a lucrative amount of money for him, I think we should sell him. So I'd say if we get like 35 to 40 million for him, I think we should cash in on him and use it to reinvest in the squad. Because he's talking as if he should just come into the team and start. This is Arsenal Football Club, mate. You can't be talking like that. I hear you had a great season, but Sekou, my guy, But I like the confidence, but you're yet to back it up in the league. Because from what I saw of him 2 seasons ago, he was very raw and it was a bit like just getting brushed off the ball and that. But it looks like he's gone away and improved. He looks like a confident guy and everything. So it's an interesting one. I feel like I would keep him. However, if we do get a lucrative amount of money, if we get 35 million plus for him, I would sell him and buy another striker to replace him, and probably Edward Nketiah as well. Because a lot of the fans would prefer to keep Balogun over Nketiah. However, I feel like Balogun would bring in more funds than Nketiah. So if I had to keep one of the two, I'll just summarize it. I would sell Balogun if we get over 35 million. However, if we don't, I would keep Balogun and sell Nketiah. But either way, I feel we need another striker anyways. Okay. So that's that section done. I've just gone through the squad and all the players, the positions that I feel like we need to strengthen. I want to go into what I feel like the starting 11 will be. Even though I think we're going to still buy a couple more players, I feel like we're going to get one or two more players in. It looks like we're after some midfielders, and we might get a forward in. We might get like a attacking midfielder, like a Xavi Simons or someone like that, or Lavia, because we're obviously heavily in for Lavia, as are many clubs. So the starting 11 for next season, as things stand, I'd put Aaron Ramsdale in goal. Then I'll put Jurien Timber as a right back. Then William Saliba and Gabriel centre halves. And then I'll have Alexander Zinchenko as a left back. Declan Rice as a holding midfielder with Odegaard to his right, Kai Havertz to his left, just edging out Smith Rowe. And then obviously the same front three as last season with Saka, Jesus, and Martinelli. However, I feel like Trossard's a little bit unfortunate to miss out, but I just like the balance in that attack. But yeah, I feel like Trossard's a definitely more than able replacement for any one of those front three, as is Ben White coming in for Timber, because he probably count himself unfortunate to not start this season. Lastly, I want to I want to talk about my all-time Arsenal team, all-time Arsenal 11. In goal, I would have David Seaman just edging out Jens Lehmann, who was our invincible keeper. I used to love like watching him and Drogba going to war every time we played Chelsea. That was nuts, like especially at corners. Like man would push Drogba, like Drogba would stand on him so he couldn't move, and then he would be pushing Drogba and getting into beef with him and whatnot. That used to crack me up, man. So I feel like no, but David Seaman's definitely Arsenal's greatest ever keeper. So for me, that's an easy one, really. At right back, I'll have Bakary Sagna just edging out Laura, and I'm sure a lot of fans would probably say Lauren over Sagna, but for me, Sagna was consistent over quite a long period of time and was solid defensively and had a decent cross on him. So Bakary Sagna as a right back, and then obviously the next three are pretty simple, really. The English back four, English three English defenders out of the four, which is Sol Campbell, centre back, Tony Adams, centre back, and Ashley Cole as a left back. Needless to say, Ashley Cole is the best left back ever to play in the Premier League, so that was an easy one. And then obviously Tony Adams has a statue outside the stadium. Sol Campbell obviously moved from Tottenham to Arsenal and is probably the most hated footballer out there, but no, he's definitely for me in that back four. However, I feel like there's a couple players in our squad, current squad, that can get into this, and I feel like Saliba's one of them that can squeeze their way into this all-time 11. But obviously, he has a long way to go, and he probably needs to stay for about 8 years to be able to get into this squad. In midfield, I'm gonna go 4-2-3-1. In midfield, I'm gonna have Patrick Vieira. Needless to say, another player of a statue of him outside the stadium. And obviously Cesc Fabregas, who is one of my all-time favorite Arsenal players, just retired yesterday, and I literally just about forgiven him for moving to Chelsea from Barcelona. That was hard to watch, that where he moved to Chelsea, but no, he was exceptional for Arsenal as a 16-year-old coming into the side and just literally never looking back. I mean, I think he's the second all-time top assist maker in the Premier League, just behind Ryan Giggs, and that's because he played for about 20 seasons. So that tells you all you need to know about Fabregas. The front. So yeah, so I've gone 4-2-3-1. So on the right, I'll have Saka, and you might call me crazy, but I've seen enough for me to believe that he's gonna come in here. I feel like, however, the fact he's in there is probably the most, you could say, the weakest or the most what the word I'm looking for, the most competitive position in this team, because I could have easily had Alexander Hleb in there, I could have had Nasri in there, I could have had Ljungberg in there. But I've gone for Saka just because I feel like he's a special player, and over time he's gonna prove to be. He probably end up with a statue as well. Put it that way. And then obviously the next three positions are pretty straightforward, really, with Dennis Bergkamp. Need I say more? Dennis Bergkamp, definitely. So I'll put him in behind Thierry Henry. And on the left, I would have Robert Perez over. I was thinking about putting in Mark Overmars there, but I wasn't really sure. So I went for Perez instead because Perez was techie. Like who did he's a bit like Hazard. He was the Hazard before Hazard, isn't it? Like his just a dribbling ability was mad on the left wing, right-footed left winger, just linking up with Thierry Henry was a madness, man. Yeah, 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 definitely. And he's a cool guy as well. I met him at the Emirates one time, and he's just bare respectful. So yeah, just to summarize my all-time Arsenal 11: David Seaman, Bakary Sagna, Sol Campbell, Tony Adams, Ashley Cole, Patrick Vieira, Cesc Fabregas, Bukayo Saka, Dennis Bergkamp, Robert Perez, and Thierry